we're live. Hi everyone, my name's April. I'm the exhibition and gallery coordinator here at Gallery 76. This is the lovely Susan Gower, who is our collections custodian, and today, as a special live Instagram for World Embroidery Day, we're going to be, Sue's going to be taking us through a few different pieces, international embroidery pieces from our historic collections. So this is our very first Instagram live, so please be patient as we work through the technology. Love to see your comments and questions. We'll try and do questions as we go about any pieces, anything you want to know more about. And if we don't get to your questions, we'll try and have a bit of question time at the end. So thank you all for joining, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, so around. Here we are.
Well, hello and welcome to the collection room, and happy World Embroidery Day.
Woo.
I think the best place to start with World Embroidery Day is with a couple of maps. Now, I know that these are under glass and it might be they're very difficult to photograph, but they seem to be coming up a little bit better on this. This is a map sampler of England and Wales, dated 1798. It's incredibly fine. I don't know, April, if you can get close enough, but it looks at first glance as if the names have been written on in a fine pen, but those are actually very, very fine stitches.
That's crazy. And I love the little, what do you call it? The sort of scale on the map corner. So
the inches down the side.
Exactly, yeah. It's amazing.
Yes, these map samplers were very popular around the turn of the 1700s, the beginning of the 1800s. A way of teaching geography as well as sewing or embroidery. Some of the maps do depend on the governess's knowledge of the subject, and aren't always that
accurate? Or?
That accurate, yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. This is one of Europe. It's dated 1805. It has its original glass and is a lovely piece. It was done by S. Hawkins and has remained in the family until it was given to us about 5 years ago. It has had water damage, and it was taken apart and cleaned. We cleaned it very gently, and these areas are actually sewn through 2 or 3 layers.
Wow.
But not the fine thing. I love the way when you look at this, you can see how it's been fitted in. So you have Lapland, and then I'm not quite sure where the mark is. Or
no, that's Sweden.
Oh, sorry, Sweden. And I think one of my favorites is the icy ocean. I think that is very...
I think we should all start referring to that as the icy ocean.
Yes.
Especially now in winter.
Yes. It is also interesting to see the names and what they thought was important enough to actually label.
Never seen that one called the German Ocean before, North Sea or German Ocean.
Yes, that appears in quite a few of the map samplers.
There you go. Fascinating. And down to North Africa as well.
Yes.
So just the very tip of that. Fascinating.
Yes, although this is still a very fine linen, it is not as fine as the others.
Yeah, fantastic.
It has been very difficult to choose which pieces to show. As you can see behind us, we do have a lot of pieces. And I suppose the choice is really rather whimsical. But I sort of started off with an age, apart from the maps,
Mm-hmm.
an age. These are, these two are 17th century. This is early 17th century, this is late 17th century.
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to hold this?
Yeah, that'd be good, just for that light. So this one was the early one?
Yes, this
Okay.
is an early one. This is a part of a silk bed hanging. Now, if you can get your camera closer, we can still stay distant, but
Yep.
the camera, you can see it's on a silk background.
Mm-hmm.
The silk is absolutely shot,
Mm.
or shattered, but there is a linen underneath it, and the embroidery has stayed above it.
Okay.
This panel was probably from a bed hanging. We have another fragment of it, but I love the mermaid and the animals in this one.
The exceptionally masculine looking mermaid there.
I love the eyebrows. They look like little centipedes.
Yes, and then the mirror's done in, what's the mirror done
The
in?
mirror's done in a silver plate,
Okay.
and it has tarnished. I think that quite a bit of this has had silver in it that has tarnished. But it has, I love this bird.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful carnation, and pears, which were very popular at the time. Love the animals. The lizard.
Oh, and the lizard.
And I love the way, as in with most embroideries at this time, the lizard and the moth or butterfly, really the same size, not much smaller than the mermaid.
So that would have been silver at the time, that tarnished mirror, and then it's...
Yes, I think that, I think so.
Yeah, would have been very extra to have, silver reflective bed hangings with mermaids and bugs and...
Oh, it's just beautiful. And the peas. Peas are just gorgeous.
Yeah. So what's the style of this embroidery known as, Sue? Is it Jacobean, or what would you sort of categorise it as?
I think it's probably about that area. The Jacobean usually refers to the crewel work, which is slightly later.
Okay.
A camera always makes me forget. But this is part of a crewel bed hanging.
Mm-hmm. So crewel is spelled Crewel, not cruel like it's a horrible bed hanging.
No. It's crewel, which is the wool. It's a thin, very tightly twisted wool, and it's crewel wool, and that was why it was called crewel work.
There you go.
And the bed hangings were very, very popular, and when you see the drafty castles, you understand why people needed bed hangings.
Yeah, they're gorgeous, aren't they?
As a place.
And these colours have survived very well. Would this have been the original colour, more or less?
I think so.
They're just so vibrant still.
They are.
And do we know where this is from?
No.
Okay. Somewhere European,
No,
we
don't.
assume.
Yes. It was donated by June Scott Stevenson, but otherwise I don't know. Now, I'm going to digress in history for a while here. I'll just put this away safely. Just clear a bit of space here. Because a crewel work, and patterns have moved throughout the world, and but from the English, particularly from the English crewel work, which came from all other places. Over here we have two pieces of Deerfield work by one of our members, Adele Land. But when the Pilgrim Fathers went to America, they carried on doing what was familiar to them. So you can see, even though these are small pieces, you can see the basis of the scrolling work, etc. But they didn't have the colour range once they arrived in America. But they had the natural dyes of blue, and they started working in blue. And in late sort of 1890s, in Deerfield, two women, Margaret and Ellen, and whose surnames escape me at the moment, started a revival and found the old patterns, and it is now known as Deerfield. It was in Deerfield, Massachusetts.
Okay, so this feels a place, and these are women who've come from Europe, presumably England.
Well, what happened is two women who were in Deerfield at the turn of the century found these old pieces, and they started.
So old Deerfield pieces that had been made in the 1700s, or
They'd
presumably.
been made earlier.
Oh, right.
They'd been made by people who had arrived, and they started reproducing.
I get it.
It was then known as the Deerfield Blue and White Society.
Beautiful.
They also added little bits of yellow. There were 3 shades of blue, but originally it had been women who were used to seeing crewel embroidery. But
So you can really see how that patterns from that older European style of crewel has been translated into the American blue and white version of that. It's just gorgeous. I love blue and white.
yes, when people moved across the world, they carried on with what was familiar to start off with. And over here, and unfortunately it's behind glass, but it's too lovely not to show you. Can you see it?
Yeah, that's not too bad for us.
1920s. We know nothing about it. It was found in a bric-a-brac shop.
Yes.
But you can see this is a traditional tree of life scrolling, except it has obviously been done in Australia because we have a kangaroo.
Ooh, let's see the kangaroo. Okay, there's our Jacobean almost style embroidery with a kangaroo. And beautiful colours again. So they obviously did have access to different colours, unlike in America, but that is just beautiful.
It has a range of stitches. It has the deer.
Oh, okay, that's not from Australia.
No, that's not from Australia.
And nor is the squirrel.
No.
I'm guessing that, look, we do have a lot of rabbits in Australia. It's our rabbit, but I'm quite liking the little squirrel character in the grass.
And the same thing, you've got little
very, very much alike.
butterflies. So you have got a very traditional tree of life. But this is, it's moved around the world.
Fascinating. And so this is a fire screen?
Yes.
So you'd put it in front of the fire to...
You put it in front of the fire when the fire's not lit.
Oh, okay, just to make it look pretty. That's okay, there you go.
It's not one of the pole screens which was to...
deflect heat.
To deflect heat, to keep your wonderful complexion.
Okay, good, because I thought that would be a risk putting that in front of a fire, but it's purely for aesthetics. Okay.
When you have a look at it, the whole thing is handmade.
Yeah.
Someone said him what made it himself.
Yeah. Okay, so what have we got next on the...
All right.
We've done Europe, and we've been in America and Australia.
Well, sticking to age, I'm going to go to 2 pieces that are probably Italian. Now, this one is slightly older.
It looks slightly older, doesn't it?
Yes, it looks as if it's had a hard life, but if you have a look at it, it is absolutely beautiful. And the fact that it is not finished shows us how it was made.
So would this have been deliberate, do you think? The leaving it unfinished to show, or was it just they didn't quite get to it?
I suspect somebody didn't quite get to
Okay.
it. If it was deliberate, I think there would have been more unmade.
Yeah. Okay.
Unmade bits. To me, it looks, and of course, that's pure guesswork.
Yeah. So this is Italian from, we think, the same period.
Yes, this one is slightly older than that, and I have my cheat sheet here because
Okay.
I want to get this one right. We think that this is an 18th century cutwork sampler. Sorry, this one is the older.
Oh, okay. There you go. Let me just try and get some of that. Oh, wow. Okay. So they're the same technique. Yes?
Well, that's cut work. This one's reticella. There is more in this.
Okay. So this is cut work, and this is reticella, which is a style of cut work.
Cut work, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And they're both Italian.
We
We believe because
to the best of our knowledge.
yeah.
I do have two pieces of modern, which probably allows you to see it a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get my little glue. Now these are done by one of our members.
Okay. So these are not historical, but the same style. Gorgeous. And this one, wow. Very fine. So would you categorize this as lace, a style of lace, the cut work?
The difference between cut work and lace is that lace doesn't have a ground fabric.
Cool.
Punto and ario stitches in there. These do have ground fabrics,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been cut away. If you have a look at this one, get my little pointing scissors. If you have a look through here, you can see the base fabric. Now that's exactly what has happened here, where there's a fabric, and what they've done is cut away. What she's done is cut away the threads.
They're huge sections you cut away.
Yes.
And then how do you, this is where they've cut away, and then you put it back in some sense.
Yes. First of all, you bind the edges
Mm-hmm.
so that it doesn't fray, and then you will put, say, 2 or 3 threads going each way.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here it is. It shows you exactly how it's done.
Yeah, wow.
You've got the threads there, and they have been wrapped.
Yeah.
Not wrapped in a figure of 8,
Mm-hmm.
but they have been strengthened, and you then each bit is done the same way. So
Okay.
you'll put in these, and then fill it with
Okay.
that.
And do you use the threads that you cut away previously to do that?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Better not to, because you've got longer pieces.
Right, okay.
And if they might be better twisted, a linen thread.
Okay,
would be
there you go.
Probably better twisted.
Very interesting.
Right.
And you can almost see I would guess, a sort of Islamic influence here with the sort of the star patterns. It looks quite like Moroccan tiles or something like that.
Yes, but a lot of the Italian cut work and the lace work comes from the patterns found in the ironwork.
Oh, okay.
So we might have chickens and eggs here. Not sure which one.
Which came first, the lace or the iron?
No, I think yes, and they might very well have had the same same design, the same design history. Looking at here, we have a piece made by a member of the Bonner family. If not made in 1603, it was very soon afterwards.
1603, is that the oldest piece in the collection or close to?
Probably would be.
Mm.
Well, we know the date because it is the accession of James I. James I of England, James VI of Scotland, and therefore the unification of Scotland and England, which says, "Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity," which of course is the beginning of
Yes.
Psalm 133. And the unity, you have the English rose, you have the Scottish thistle, and the hands. Now this is done in silver.
Let's get a bit closer. We can see that silver work. So that's a silver thread. How do you make silver into a thread? What is the, in my mind, that's a block of metal.
There are many different ways of doing it. Originally, they used to take little bits and beat it and draw it out. And that is why you had the guild of wire drawers.
That's a very specific guild.
and embroiderers.
Mm.
You can also wrap metal around a cotton core.
Okay.
Nowadays, there's very little
Yeah.
metal in it.
It's
But
back in the day, this one would have been real silver.
this is probably real silver, just drawn out until it is thin.
That
It
is-
doesn't go through the fabric very often. You'll notice it is laid on the top and couched down. And you can see over here. If it is very fine, it can go through. It's then known as passing thread. But generally, it is
That thistle's very three-dimensional. So does that...
very
Yeah.
round. Yes,
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous.
that is. I'll just move.
So, out of curiosity, do we know where metal threads came from historically? Did they originate in Scotland and Europe, or had they arrived via another source?
I don't know.
Okay, all right. Because we know that it's...
I don't know. But they were used all over the place.
Okay, so it's not specific to this part of the world.
No. You have a lot of metal thread in Oriental.
There you go.
And in fact, I'll move straight.
Here's one you prepared earlier.
Here's what, exactly. A Turkish. I'll just move these.
More silver thread. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, love that.
That is a Turkish scarf.
A Turkish scarf. Okay.
Yes. I'll let you.
Just try. I'll get some close-ups for everyone watching. Oh, sorry, I'll go a bit slower there. So this is also, is this silver or gold thread? It's got almost a gold gleam to it. Or a bit of both. Some of it looks more silver, some of it looks more gold.
I think we've got the back.
Oh, even better. Ah, so that was the back, if that wasn't exciting enough. I think that, I don't know, I think this is the back because you've got more of the loose threads happening. But you can see the gold very clearly.
Yes, of course. As a scarf, it really can be worn on either side.
Of course. So this is Turkish. Do we know the
This is a
approximate
Turkish.
age of this one?
This is a scarf because of the shape of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if we do on this one.
Hi everyone,
No.
thanks for joining.
I know that it was donated by Lady Vincent Fairfax, but I'm afraid I don't know the.
Well, anyone with any good guesses, feel free to add them to the comment section, and we'll see if we can make an educated guess together.
We do have Turkish towels, which are quite similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the first question is, how would you ever dry yourself with something like that? Well, of course you didn't.
Yep.
After a bath in a Turkish bathhouse, you would wrap it around your hair or whatever
To recline and to hang out after to relax post bath.
as a fabulous dressing gown.
That
really,
sounds
rather
excellent.
than rather than a towel to dry yourself. The other, we've actually been very fortunate, and one of our members taught in Turkey, and we have quite a good collection of Turkish pieces.
Oh, wow. So
This is the border, we think, of a cloth.
okay, so it would go around a tablecloth or something that you'd.
Something has come out. Oh no, that's the wrong way around.
Another one that could be both ways.
Yeah. It could have been that it had an insert. It might have been that the insert just wore away.
Okay.
It's the sort of thing that we just can't tell.
And is this on linen or?
Yes, this is on linen. It
what
has the Arabic writing and quite a tightly pulled, so you have a pulled work.
Okay, so the technique of this is pulled thread work, so similar, not similar to the cut work, but different.
No, I don't think.
You pull the threads aside rather than cutting them out.
Yes, that's the difference between pulled work
So what about we've got a tree
Taunt.
and a little.
It looks like a boat.
Oh, it's a boat. Let me zoom out. And what's wow? It's sort of like the mermaid. In that if that's a flower, it's a lot bigger than the tree in the house.
Well, that might be. Yes. And here you have the metallic.
Oh, more metal, but that's a metallic braid for an edging rather
Yes,
than
yes.
gorgeous though.
That looks like a woven braid.
And there's a bit of metallic thread we can see in the house and
over here. Oh, is it the same?
Yeah.
The same one on the corner.
same, but you can sort of get a better example of it here. So you can see that little bits of silver. And do we know what the Arabic script says? I think we have that. Do we not have that translated?
No.
Okay. Well, any Arabic speakers out there, please let us know what our Arabic tablecloth says.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So this is in Arabic, but it's a piece that was purchased in Turkey. We
It
think?
was donated by Pamela Griffith. I don't know.
Okay, where exactly she
where
purchased
this
it from?
one was. We've been very fortunate in over the years with the number of people who have donated, who have travelled or worked overseas and have donated. Just bring out a few. We'll keep on the metal thread.
So some more metal thread happening in this one. And again, you can see the couching a bit more clearly in this example. Sorry, excuse my shaky hands, everyone. So that's the metal thread that's been couched down with, in this case, a sort of reddish orange thread to attach it to the fabric. So where are these two pieces from, Sue?
These are Chinese sleeve bands.
Sleeve bands, okay.
So you can see on these how that is the band at the bottom of the sleeve.
Right, very, very epic flowing sleeves.
And beautiful sleeve, beautiful band, and you can see that would be attached, and that's the edge. These are also sleeve bands, but the two, they've been joined
Okay.
to form.
So you can see the divide there. So it's two different bands that would have been on a sleeve, but someone's bought them, obviously, and framed them
Yes.
because they're just gorgeous examples of historic Chinese embroidery. Oh, so let's have a quick zoom in on these characters.
This
Look,
one we would say early 20th century. I really don't know with these, but you can see this beautiful embroidery. Look at these gorgeous knots.
I love the expressions on their faces, and so these are knots knotted embroidery.
Let's have a look at these. The Chinese knot or the Peking knot.
Peking knot. There you go. Very.
They're just all over with beautiful shading, outlined in the metal thread.
And what fabric has this been done on? Is it a linen or a cotton or?
It looks like a brocade of sorts.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
There's a little pattern happening there.
Yes.
Well, and the metal thread's quite subtle on this one. Would it have been a lot more sort of reflective originally, do you think?
I don't know. If you look at the colour of it now, your comment is that it was couched down with the colour, with the reddish colour. The colour of the thread doing the couching has a lot to do with how you see the eventual look of it. I don't think I'm putting that very well. But if you use the same colour as the same colour, it doesn't detract from it. If you want to change the colour, you can.
So the colour of thread you couched it in sort of affects
It does.
the look of it, the perception of it. Yeah.
And I mean, we usually try and do something that is not going to spoil the look of all the gold, unless you're doing something like Italian shading or ornue, in which case you will lay down pairs of couch down pairs of gold threads, and the colour couching will actually be the pattern.
Okay, so you're patterning onto the gold threads.
Yes.
Very interesting.
And it is and you will use a couple of millimeters between each couching thread, but in something like Ornue they'll be right next to each other because it is the colour of the couching that forms the pattern with the shimmering
Very interesting.
background.
Okay, so we've got metal thread from all over the world by the looks of it. Loving this piece. Oh, he's got a gold crown happening, but they've both got gold crowns. Or she's missing part of hers, I think, now.
Of course, we do have a whole Chinese exhibition coming up sometime this year.
November. So we'll hopefully have some of these pieces up on display that you can see in even more detail, God willing.
We do have other pieces. One of the criteria I've used for choosing pieces for today is ones that are easy to show that aren't behind glass, of course.
Yes.
Apart from
a few special ones.
An exception to every rule.
Cool. So it's 11 o'clock, Sue, just so you know what the time is, because I know we've got a few pieces that you've pulled out.
All right.
It's all good.
Beautiful piece. This is Indian.
Mm-hmm.
This is on a printed fabric.
Oh, okay.
It looks like a frame cover.
Mm-hmm.
Now, once again, moving through the world, a mango, the Buddha, or if you're doing it in England, you'd call it paisley.
Paisley, after the British, in inverted commas, borrowed that pattern.
Well, patterns went everywhere.
Yeah.
This is a particularly pleasing shape, and everybody seems to.
It feels a little similar to the original piece we looked at with those sort of florals and the deep colours.
Yes.
And yeah, the colours just are incredible. So was this so this was a piece from India. We think it was a frame.
Yes.
But I guess, as you said, it's the kind of thing that people would want all around the world. So they would be exported or purchased and travel around in that way.
You never know, when things are made for a foreign market. But probably finishing off our gold.
Okay.
This is a most beautiful Japanese fan case.
A fan case. Okay.
Yes. So your fan goes in there.
Mm-hmm.
It has these wonderful metal Turk's head knots.
So let me have a check out the Turk's head knots. Beautiful. So there again, they're metal thread.
Over here, and look at this. Look at the couching.
All right, let's see if we can get.
Very fine.
Oh, what have we got here? Okay, it's another beautiful metallic insect of some description, and you almost can't see how fine that couching is. Do you have a pair of scissors for? I mean, this is my hand for context. Like it is a ridiculously small, fine piece.
This is a very small pair of scissors.
Very small pair of scissors, but it is. I can't imagine having the skill to couch down those little individual pieces of metallic thread.
Maybe a ruler would be a better.
So slide it in there.
You have an inch.
There you go. So that's
give you an idea.
Gorgeous. And there's the lovely little sort of braid going around the edge there, which is very, very nice.
I suppose this is the ultimate in showing you the metal thread.
Thank you, Sheila, for your comment that you're enjoying it. Good to hear, everyone. Feel free to comment or ask questions as we go.
That's a relief.
Yeah. Okay, what's this one?
This is a sampler of church embroidery done by June Scott Stevenson in 1926 at the Royal School of Needlework.
1926. Wow.
And it's a marvelous piece. It shows you the couching. This is the sort of way that you would use that you don't want the thread to show in any.
Okay, so they're trying to. Oh, sorry.
To show in any way. Over here, you can see the fact that she has used a blue.
Is a deliberate pattern effect.
Makes its own pattern.
Beautiful. And this one's almost creating a three-dimensional effect by using
the padding.
padding. So that's just some normal sort of cord that they've...
Yes, that's a soft cotton string known as a bump.
A bump. That's an excellent, like, Scrabble word.
Yes.
And then sort of quite sort of typical church imagery of the lily.
Yes.
And again, that's just got a little bit of gold work accentuating.
Now, this little piece shows you very clearly how you've got the cotton centre and
So you can
the external, by this stage, it would have been wrapped around it.
Okay.
So you've got a metal core.
So it's 1920s, but we know that this is a much older style because we've been looking at these 1600s pieces, but were still popular then, and probably, I would say church embroidery is probably, or religious embroidery is one of the main ways that you continue to see gold work today. Would that be correct?
Yes, I think so. But two of the little things.
Okay, so what are these ones?
Because of course embroidery is a social history as well. These are shoes for lily feet.
So these are not children's shoes, these are adult shoes.
No, these are shoes for women who've had their feet bound.
Look,
for lily feet.
the silver lining is the gold thread work, if that's how you're living your life, but that is incredible. Can we have the ruler back for, I mean, I saw them in your hand, but just for how small actually are these shoes. So that's all of 10 centimetres, that shoe.
And if you look underneath, you'll see
they don't look like they're really outdoor shoes. I don't think you're going for a hike in these.
No, I don't think you were meant to walk.
Okay, you're just meant to sit there and look pretty.
And show how wealthy your family was because you didn't have to work.
Work or walk. Okay, and so this is a very interesting sort of stitching style. They're sort of elongated, like,
Yes.
yeah. And they're edged in, that's not metallic, this is just a different edging thread.
There is a bit of metallic.
Okay, bit of bling.
A little bit.
Gorgeous.
Once again, you can see the mounds.
And these are in silk as well, aren't
Yes.
they? Gorgeous. Okay, we've got enough time for a couple more pieces, probably. What have we?
Yes. No gold thread.
Okay.
The opposite. A lovely piece of cantha work.
So how do you say that one again?
Cantha.
Cantha. Okay.
K-A-N-T-H-A.
Great.
It's an Indian method. It's this is quite an old. When I say quite old, probably 1920s.
Okay, so 100 years. Yes.
Well, it's a long time ago now. I love the way that these.
So this is a style. Is it found across India? It's quite. I think I used the word for like a naive looking style.
Well, this is just a small cloth, but the way that the history of camphor or thing is cloth. Any cloth that had been used and was wearing out weren't thrown away.
Yep.
They were kept, layered, and put together with running stitches. So this one isn't just running stitches. Many of them are just running stitches to keep the cloth together.
So they're basically stitching rags, worn out pieces
Yes.
together to make a piece of fabric that's thick enough to stitch on.
To use again. It also had a lot of symbolic meaning. A blanket made for a baby from cloths that had been used from the family, wrapped a child in its history.
That's really lovely.
It's a lovely idea. Sorry, you can see the running threads.
Yes, we could.
You can see it in here, which just keeps them together. It is a very fine fabric. And that whole idea of wrapping a child
Another
in
bird?
its families.
This whole exercise is sort of like a bird watching exercise as well.
well, I do love animals. I do
Anyone
find
in the
anything
Audubon
that has-
Society, please feel free to follow us.
Um, I think we'll end by going back into a bit of white work.
Oh, I do want to do, can we have time for the molars as well?
Oh,
I'd
yes.
love to see those ones.
Oh,
'cause
yes,
I saw
sorry,
that.
I've forgotten about the molars. Molars are from the San Blas Islands.
And where are the San Blas Islands? Because I did have to Google that when you told me before.
Somewhere in South America.
Okay, I think it was was it Panama? But I didn't know, and I had to Google San Blas Islands.
Panama.
They look lovely as, tourist destination for when we can travel again.
This one is probably early 19th century. Molars are only about 150 years old.
Okay.
They come from body painting. And
100 years ago, we used body paint, and then we decided that maybe let's embroider the style or the patterns instead.
patterns instead, we've now got Spaniards coming, and we've got cloth and
Okay, so this was
things change.
they're Spanish colonized islands, and that the Spanish people brought the traditions of embroidery that was then adopted by the locals.
I think that's
Okay, but they don't look Spanish at all. This style.
No, because it's sort of adapted from the local body.
I mean,
painting.
Spanish sort of religious imagery, but also you've got that kind of South American.
The overlay. Yes.
Very much. So it's a very
It is a reverse applique.
reverse applique. So what is? Tell me what applique is, and then explain how you reverse it.
Applique is applying fabric.
Okay, like layers.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, normally you can apply them, and there are a good few layers, and then cut away.
Okay,
And
so
do
it's
the reverse.
sort of a
Normally-
cut work in some ways. Is that correct? No. Okay,
No.
I've used the wrong term.
No. Well, we
You're cutting, though.
We are cutting, but there is a difference.
Okay.
These, because of the fineness of the sewing and the patterns, probably early ones, the tropical weather is not conducive to keeping fabrics, and so not a lot of really old ones survive.
So we're quite lucky to have these ones.
As, of course, people move around and tourists appear, a lot of things happen all over the world, start being made for the tourist market rather than for the locals. I think that these were two that were made to actually be worn. Sorry, they were worn. A molar is a part of, it's called, I think it's a word for blouse, and they were used as panels in clothing, front and back.
Okay.
So they would be panels.
And then do you attach them and then you can unattach them, sort of
Yes.
like a...
Yes. You look in any society that is not a throwaway society, uses the bits that remain.
Yeah, which is what we just saw in the Canthar piece of really reusing those bits and pieces of fabric.
And make it into something else. Then you're talking about bling. We have
Oh, we love talking about bling.
this
Right.
wonderful Eurostyle.
If you thought the last outfits were good, this is okay. Oh, that's beautiful. So is it bells I'm hearing?
It's got a bit of everything. It's got from old coins. This is, I suppose you could call it a multi-generational piece.
Okay.
It has been added to
Over decades.
over and over.
Wow.
You have old coins.
Can I zoom in
You
on
have
those?
New
Wow.
coins.
That is...
You have the little bills. A zip.
It's a very heavy duty zip, but this is a very heavy piece by the looks of it.
And somebody who's been absolutely thrilled to find what we would think of as just ordinary shirt buttons.
Yep, and they've used them
But-
decoratively.
It's
There is so much, so not gold work, but just actual metal pieces on this.
Yes.
And they almost just not detract from the embroidery, which is sort of the main affair in some ways. So this is a wool embroidery, or a...
I'm not sure.
It sort of looks like
No.
a thicker yarn of some
Yes.
type.
It might be a thicker cotton.
Okay. And we've got
And you can
pom-poms
see-
happening.
And
This
you can
is...
see there is older and newer. It has been.
Okay, can I see that again? Sorry, I just didn't quite catch it. No, it's all good. So there's different kind of... That's a really thick yarn. And then you've got literally just next to it a much finer...
I think you might find that there are bits that are worn out and have been replaced. I mean, the whole construction of this garment is amazing.
It's a lot of inserts put into that skirt there.
This is from Nuristan, which is in the northeast of Afghanistan.
Okay,
It's one of the provinces in the Hindu Kush mountains.
gorgeous. Yeah, so this is definitely a more is more kind of outfit. And you'd really let people know you were coming if you were wearing it. So, whereas white work, I'd say, is almost the complete cultural opposite to this in terms of less is more.
We will now just a beautiful piece bought in Florence in 1927 with a very traditional male and female figure.
So I was speaking to Tina Moletti yesterday, and she grew up in Sicily in the 40s, and she referred to them as bambole, which is dolls in Italian. So when she was learning them as a child, they called them the dolls that they stitched into the fabric, which I thought was very sweet.
Oh, well, Tina's an absolute fountain
Yes.
of information. Of course, we don't have much of Italian stuff up at the moment because we have this amazing exhibition downstairs. And this might be the time for your perfect plug for your...
Oh yes, so this time next week we'll do another live one on YouTube going through the Italian exhibition. But I did really like this tablecloth piece. It was just too big to put in the exhibition, and there's just an entire trim of this beautiful reticella characters. So love it. Fantastic.
How are we going for time?
We've got another 5 minutes, so...
Okay, very, very quickly. We'll end with white work. We have over here a most unusual bonnet, Ayrshire bonnet.
Ayrshire, okay, Ayrshire in Scotland?
Ayrshire in Scotland, yes. It is... I don't know how to get it in the 5 minutes. This was, you'll have a look at the needle lace insertions into this. Now, Ayrshire, and this is an early piece, the earlier the piece, the more needle lace insertions there were.
Okay, so these little lacy bits are bits of lace that you've made, someone's made separately. Are they bobbin lace or are they needle lace?
No.
And they've been inserted into the fabric. And is that, you've cut out the fabric to do that and then put the needle lace in it?
It's the same way.
Okay.
That is a very fine form of the reticella.
There you go, okay.
Well, it's needle lace, but it's
Yeah.
done the same way. And you've got these attached. That was
I said white
donated
work.
by the family, and it was worn by one of the ancestors in 1815 for the christening in the Bruges Cathedral.
Wow, okay. See, I said that white sheer was, so white work was less is more, but actually there's so much detail.
Once you've only got one colour, the textures become very important. Now, a most beautiful Ayrshire christening. It was used for christenings. It was the Kemp Bruce family that left Perthshire in 1891, but it had been used in the family for years before.
Okay, so same origin as the bonnet.
It's the same thing.
Oh wow! So
And if you have a look at the insertions,
you can see them a bit clearly, more clearly on the dress here.
yes.
Um,
Now these are the needle lace insertions. The later ones will have drawn pull thread insertions.
okay.
But that is, and it's
Oh god, it's very very small, isn't it? That's a very small baby wearing that dress.
well, this is one of the reasons people have stopped wearing. Babies are just bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
was last used in 1974.
Okay, that's quite recently, but
But if you have a look at that, you can see how this very fine Ayrshire work then became embroidery anglaise.
okay, so this
Now-
is Ayrshire work. Broderie anglaise is next. Woohoo. So broderie anglaise is one I'm more familiar with because you see it a lot more
You see it a
in
lot
contemporary
more.
fashion.
Much easier to do. Made in 1906 by Marjorie Beck's mother in Adelaide.
Okay, so this is a petticoat, and you've got, even in this petticoat, you've got layers and layers of fabric.
Yes.
Okay. So 1906, you're in that kind of beautiful Edwardian white gowns look is the aesthetic I'm picturing.
You also have the lovely.
And is that there for washing?
Yes, it'll be a
Adelaide.
Adelaide. It was in Adelaide. Her name was Margaret Beck,
Okay.
and her daughter was worked in our collection for years. She, a most interesting person.
So can I have a look at the two together almost? And are they made in the same way, or is it just?
Yes.
I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, but it's very interesting.
This
And
was-
broderie anglaise, the name suggests it's English. Is it an English style, or is it just known as broderie anglaise?
yeah, it became when the cotton muslin made in Scotland was lent itself to this. It also became at the time when lace was very expensive, and it was made to represent lace.
Right, okay. And we'll hear a bit more about that in our Lace Festival next February. But let's have a quick look at this. So you've got this kind of very little, and again, they're cut out or are they pulled, these little
are cut
holes?
out.
They're cut out, and then you use a buttonhole stitch to edge them in, is that correct?
Or a buttonhole, or you just bind it.
Or you bind it, okay. And then in a similar vein, we've got our 1906
Exactly the
petticoat.
same one.
And it's sort of much bigger version of that.
Is a scarf. Now, not as white as the others. This was made in the 1840s by the wife of an Irish.
Made in Ireland by the wife of an Irish farmhand, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is not a wealthy family, unlike the gorgeous christening gowns and petticoats. This is a poor, rural
This
family.
is someone who has needed to actually take the small bits, put them together.
Okay, so it's bits and pieces of fabric that you've found. Again, quite similar to the Indian piece in some ways of salvaging bits of fabric.
Yes, but it might have been new because very often, if things were hand woven, there were only the width that a hand shuttle could
Oh,
do.
wow, okay.
But if you have a look at it, it's much coarser, but it is exactly the same thing. And
Okay, so this is more cut work, but it's done in a sort of, it's taken less time to do it, but that's hours and hours and hours, days of stitching to get that effect. And with
the wife of an Irish farmhand would not have had a lot of time to herself.
no, or a lot of lace pieces in her wardrobe, presumably. So this is a very valued piece that you'd wear maybe on Sundays or for special occasions because you have lace in your wardrobe, and that's a big deal.
Yes.
I think part of lace has always had a sort of that social mobility aspect to it. And you were saying that lace, when it becomes mechanized, becomes less valuable, whereas prior to that.
I don't know if it becomes, well, it takes, yes it does.
Yeah.
Because it is. doesn't
Because
take
people can
as-
buy cheap machine-produced lace rather than...
But my first reaction is no, is that you can get very valuable machine-produced lace.
Oh, okay.
But the time it takes.
Yeah, because all of these would take possibly months even of work.
And
Or
as beautiful as anything that machine made can be, it doesn't have the same look as
handmade lace.
We may be unbiased.
Yeah, we're definitely biased around here. Although we do, do have a lot of machine-made embroidery pieces as well. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, you can message us and we'll try and get back to you if we don't have the answers to various questions. I think you see we can switch the camera around again. Hi everyone, I'm still here, Disembodied Voice. So thank you all for joining us today. Hope you've enjoyed the variety of pieces Sue's been showing us, and please join us next week on YouTube to go through the gallery exhibition, the Italian Ricamo exhibition. We're doing that with Gary from Fiber Talk online, and we might try and do this again sometime. So let us know if you enjoyed it or what we could do better, and thank you so much for coming.
And happy World Embroidery Day.
Happy World Embroidery Day.